Hi everyone, Sunsider here, and today we are going to talk about Frigg's post-emergency maintenance update. So I was making a Frigg impression video when I found out that she had received a buff on her burst skill. Of course, that would make my impression video looks irrelevant, but I guess it would serve as a good comparison video in the near future. Thanks to the emergency maintenance, now our skills grant a 15% attack bonus when we use our skill attack on Frigg's Ice domain. Previously, this 15% attack bonus was only accessible when you've awakened your weapon to 3 stars. Now, this is something nice and generous from the developer because first, pre-buff Frigg's damage was kinda underwhelming thanks to global nerf, and second, not everyone can afford the money to 3-star her. I personally have to spend around $35 to pull her on top of my 4000 Ace Black Crystal, and right after I spent another $35 to 1-star awaken her, I learned that her burst skill got buffed. Did I regret spending some money on my second pull? Initially, yes, but it will serve as a good comparison later on. Stay tuned. Now, before we move on to the video, I'd like to clarify a few things. I made a Frigg's impression a few days ago, and on that video, I talked about how Frigg was lacking some damage without realizing the fact that I was using the balanced resonance effect that gave me a total 20% final damage output. Now, in some part of the video, I'm still using this balanced resonance that causes my damage to be lower than I'd like to be even after receiving the free 15% damage buff. I'm admitting this mistake in order for me to deliver trustworthy content, and will try to calculate the damage based on the right calculation. I would be lying if I told you guys that I didn't feel excited when I learned about this buff. Now, with this buff, along with Force Resonance, will give Frigg a total of 30% bonus attack damage. Considering it's a free value that everyone gets, I'm hoping to finally see her being relevant and finally climb out the DPS ladder. Unconsciously, I'm using Balanced Resonance on this run and thought that the damage was still lacking even after the 30% damage increases from her skill and Force Resonance. To correct things up, before buff, my Frigg did 639.5k damage on the first run and 645.1k damage on her second run. Post-buff, she does 641.6k damage and 648.9k damage on the second run. Visually, there's no big difference in the damage output from before and after the buff, and this very conclusion got me thinking that Frigg really need that 1-star advancement, or she's going to get that frostiness tag that later can explode, dealing AoE frost damage to the enemy. Long story short, I pulled another Frigg and 1-star awakened her. Now, for you guys who are planning to step Frigg's damage up with Weapon Awakening, prepare yourself with a slight confusion with the advancement description. On the description, it says, gain frostiness every time you deal 550,000. Once it ends, your frostiness stack multiply force attack multiply 95% of blast damage will be dealt to the enemy. While the first part is easy enough to understand, the second description of multiple force attack does need more clarification on the source damage, whether the source was from our weapon attack or the damage that we have dealt inside our Ace domain. As confusing as the translation is, seeing when the blast AoE damage went off is something that I rarely see and confuse me even further. When does it explode? Is there any visual cue? Will there be a different damage indicator for it? There's many questions with limited answers, and the only thing that we have to do right now is for us to try. I've tried this 1-star advancement on Interstellar Exploration, and to the best of my ability, there's no visual application to this. At this stage of the game, I felt frustrated because even after investing real money and resources on her, I still couldn't see Frigg doing her thing. It was at this Interstellar run that I noticed the final damage output that normally around 600k-ish, when I had nearly reached 750k final damage. Considering the usual damage output that normally stands around 600-ish something, the only explanation that we can get for this noticeable increase in damage is the 1-star awakened weapon. It will be difficult for you to notice it at first. Even me, who have played awakened 1-star Frigg, rarely notice it. But if you can get the enemy to stand in your ice domain before it's expired, there's a good chance for you to be able to see the effect along with the AoE explosion. The only clear explanation on why you couldn't see it is probably because you've cleared the mobs quicker than your Ace domain duration. This will be a moment of truth for Friggs, and before that, let me explain where I went wrong in calculating the damage on my previous video. As I was using the balanced resonance in clearing interstellar exploration, my final damage output in the tame play is only capped at 10%, and thus limiting my Frigg damage capability. In my previous video, my Frigg did 639.5k and 645.1 damage, that if we add 40% final damage from attack resonance would be around 895.3k and 903,001k damage. Now, this is the number that we've been looking for, and sadly, due to my negligence, we couldn't see this number earlier, and realizing the fact that this banner is a cost-friendly one. Now, with the right weapon resonance and matrices, I'm using these matrices that will give a total of 6% bonus first attack. We can easily reach a total of 953k and 975.3k damage in interstellar exploration. But what's with the 50k is damage difference from pre-buff? Well, good question, because I asked myself the same question when I made this script. 40% damage bonus on team play, 15% frost attack damage bonus from frost resonance, 15% frost attack increase from recent buff on Ace Domain. She clearly can dish out a lot of damage than this, right? Yes, she could. Now, the damage calculation logic of pre-buff Frigg was that 895.3k damage was coming from Ice Domain without the 15% frost attack increase, which means that we are dishing out damage in an ineffective way that also takes longer for us to finish the instance. Now, with 15% frost attack from frost resonance, 15% from recently buffed skill, and 40% team play damage bonus, we can dish out 953k damage faster and with limited number of enemies available on each wave, thus the seemingly non-significant damage improvement. This improvement can also be seen through Bygone Phantasm clear time, where in my previous video, I struggled to finish floor 30, and now I managed to finish level 60 with my Frigg. The update can also be seen from my damage output from joint operation as well. Previously, it was difficult for me to be in the top damage ranking on each instance despite the fact that I've leveled my Friggs to level 100. It was kind of frustrating at some point seeing Frigg and new banner's damage fall behind the initially released weapon. Thanks to the recent buff, I personally think that Frigg now is relevant for us to take on other instances out there and ready to climb the spot for top DPS. In conclusion, Frigg now is a relevant unit for us to take out and join different instances of the games thanks to the free damage buff. Despite the fact that this translation fix was an error from the developer or not, this is something nice that everyone can enjoy and get their investment on Frigg finally paid off. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think Frigg buff is something that can make her relevant? Or do you think that she needs that 1-star awaken for her to become effective? Comment below and let's discuss. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for future videos like this, like this video if you enjoyed it, and dislike this video if you don't think what I said makes sense, and see you on the other videos.